interesting address on the topic different enough to make a difference, the key question for OH's future. Please welcome on the stage with a huge round of applause, Mr. Bharat Dabholkar. Welcome. It's got to be much louder. Give it up, give it up. What an honor. Please join us center stage.
Okay. Now, before I begin, I must tell you that I have three problems. One is that I'm a very nervous speaker. So in fact, when I'm called to speak like this, I carry with me slides that show you how nervous I feel when I'm asked to speak. The first one says, if you doubt the concept of eternity, make a 5-minute speech. And the second one says, there are two times in life when you're totally alone, just before you die and just before you make a speech. So I always carry this. That's the first problem. The second is, this is a wrong slot given to me for two reasons. One is normally they put me after lunch because then people have had food and they are feeling drowsy and sleepy and they don't really pay attention to me. This is the first time they put me in a morning slot, and after Ramdev ji, it's a difficult slot to do any justice to. So there are two problems. Third one is I have spent over 30 years in advertising. And there's one concept that gets drilled into our head, and that's the concept of a target group. That means you must know who you are speaking to. Because you could be saying the most brilliant things to a wrong audience and it doesn't work. And I learned this in a very embarrassing way because I used to do a play called Bottoms Up, and in that we had a front curtain joke of a mother taking her daughter to the zoo. And the mother and the daughter would be walking to the zoo, and the mother would say, "Are you enjoying your visit to the zoo, darling?" And daughter would say, "Yes, mommy, lovely. Look at all those monkeys and giraffes and elephants." And the mother would say, "Any questions for mommy?" And the daughter said, "Tell me, mommy, how do lions make love?" And the mother would look very embarrassed and say, "How do lions make love? I don't know, darling. All your father's friends are Rotarians." And we did that for something like 200 shows. We always got a great laughter. And once we were performing at the NCP at Nariman Point, a full house, and these actors went on and did the joke, and there was pin drop silence. And I couldn't figure out what had gone wrong. Did they do something wrong? Till the producer came running and said, "Bharat, are you crazy doing this joke here? This show is sponsored by the Lions Club of Nariman Point." So that day I realized that unless you know who you are talking to, you could be saying great things and they won't understand it. So let's get that out of the way. When I came here, I didn't know who are the people I would be talking to. So I just carried some slides because I think creativity is something of branding, as Jagdeep Kapoorji said, it's very important. So I'll show you some slides. Now, when I go, as I said, normally I get a session after lunch, so I need to wake up people. So I carry this slide, which normally gets people's attention. Now, this is not the real thing. This is me in a play of mine. I do a spoof on Arnab Goswami show. And on that, we call Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Kejriwal, and I come dressed as Mr. Modi with a girl on my arms. And we have Rahul Gandhi asking his mother, Mummy, who's that girl with Mr. Modi? And she says, for the last so many years, you've been hearing about the Gujarat model, Gujarat model. Who do you think the Gujarat model is? That is the Gujarat model. So this sort of wakes up the people. Now, this is one question, whether it's you're in outdoor business, you're in advertising, any business, this one question gets asked all the time. How do you get ahead in this business? And no matter what business you are in, the answer is this. If you can do this effectively, there's no chance that you lose in your business. So now, a lot of people make a statement. They say, why do people make such a big deal of creativity? Whether it's in branding, advertising. Advertising or branding is a simple job. You tell people, this is the product, this is how much it costs, and this is where you buy it, and people go and buy it. Why do people make such a great fuss? People have seminars on this, and they have television debates on this, and why do they make so much fuss? And I always give an example of one product that I've been thinking very fondly of in the last few years, shampoos. Actually, even this was a misunderstanding of a campaign. I saw a bottle which said all clear. So I bought that, and this won't happen. But take shampoos. There was a time when if you went to buy a shampoo, there were two shampoos in the market. So you either bought one or two. Now, if you go to buy a shampoo in the market, you find that there are hundreds of bottles. You have shampoos for dry hair, shampoos for oily hair, shampoos for dry hair with slight dandruff, shampoos for dry hair with extra dandruff. And you're standing in the shop and you're wondering, what exactly have I got? Is it dry hair with dandruff or is it extra dry hair with extra? You worry so much, your hair starts falling. You don't need the shampoo. You need something else to go and buy in that shop. Today's shampoos, in fact, are so full of good things. You get shampoos with vitamins, shampoos with fruits, apple, avocado. I honestly feel that today's shampoos are so damn healthy. You're far better off drinking them rather than putting on your head. But when you have a thing like this, when you have a variety of so many shampoos, how do you differentiate one from the other? And that's where creativity comes in. And I'll give you an example. This is where image matters. If you're talking of outdoor advertising, you're talking of press advertising, you're talking of branding, chances are, with the way technology is going, more or less all products are similar. The only thing that differentiates them is the image that you create for the brand. As Mr. Kapoor said, when Motilal Oswal went to him, he gave them a slogan that was different from whatever everybody else was doing. The example of this is, in America, I think in the 70s, somebody did a blind test between Coke and Pepsi. Blind test means they put them in two glasses, no brand names, and made people test it. And over 60% people could not tell the difference between Coke and Pepsi. I think over 47% people could not tell the difference between Coke and Sprite without seeing the brand name, which means that when they're spending millions of dollars to create an image for the brand, it's the image that you're buying. It's not the product that you're buying. It's the image that sells. People would say, I prefer Coke or I prefer Pepsi because it's the image that the brand has created. Taste-wise, they're similar. And that is what you must always keep in mind, that you are in the market where you are with 20 other people who have similar things to offer. Now, how can you differentiate yourself from those people is what will make the difference between success and failure. I'll tell you how competition was. Earlier, I used to always say competition was like a boxing match. You knew who your competitor was, you knew how to beat him. It was easy. You knew his strengths, you knew his weaknesses. I'll give you an example of Sony. I don't know how many of you know, Sony had a thing called Walkman, little box which you put a cassette inside and listen to music. And their main competitor was Panasonic and Sharp. So they had to worry about what is Panasonic doing which is different and can we do better. So Sony kept on improving depending on what Panasonic or Sharp were doing. Similarly, there was a thing called Kodak film, which now all of us, we don't know really because we've forgotten about films in a camera. And their competition was Fujifilm or Agfa. So their thing always was, can we do a better film than Fujifilm or Agfa? Now, while they were doing it, they were looking at the competitor that they knew. It's no more a boxing match. Now it's like a billiard table now, which means that you hit the white ball, it'll go and hit a yellow ball, it'll go and hit a red ball, it'll go and hit the side. You don't know where your competition is coming from. And that is the dangerous thing that you have to be always attentive to. Taking the same example, when Sony was looking at Panasonic, they were not looking at a company called Apple. Apple was a computer company. We are a music company. They didn't realize that one day Apple will come with a thing called iPod, which will have more music in a smaller size without needing a cassette. And that iPod wiped out the Sony Walkman from the market. Similarly, when Kodak was looking at Agfa and other people, they weren't looking at Samsung and other companies which were mobile phones. They were not their competition. They didn't realize that a time will come when mobile phones will have cameras. And unless you're a professional photographer, you won't need to buy a camera. That phone will have everything. So I think this is how the world is progressing. And unless you're attentive to new things that are happening in the market, chances are you'll lose out. And the only way you can do it is you have to innovate, innovate, and innovate. You have to be one step ahead of whatever your competition is doing. You can't do things that they're doing. What we normally end up doing is we say, this person is successful, let's do what he is doing. We call it in advertising, we call it a Me Too branding. I am like him or I am like them. That doesn't work. You can't belong to something. You have to unbelong. I'll give you an example. When I got into advertising, I realized that no matter how much money I earn, maybe at a later stage in my life, I can afford a Mercedes or I can afford a BMW. I can't afford a Rolls-Royce. That's beyond my salary. In fact, I found out that even a second-hand Rolls-Royce costs about 6 to 8 crores. So I couldn't buy that. The closest I've gone to a Rolls-Royce, I'll tell you. Once I was invited to the governor's house. There was a function there. And there was a Rolls-Royce which was parked there, which belonged to Lord Mountbatten. And no one was allowed to go near that Rolls-Royce, but the cop who was guarding it knew me. He had seen some Marathi serials and seen me. So he said, "Jaldi se aake photo le lo, koi dekhne ke pehle." So this is the closest I've gone to a Rolls-Royce. But I stood next to it and took a quick picture. So I said, if I can't afford a Rolls-Royce, and if I buy a Mercedes, that's not going to be much different because there are thousands of Mercedes cars on the road. There are thousands of BMWs. So I went and got myself an auto-rickshaw for 17,000 rupees from Poisser Bus Depot. I painted this. I made it into a silver-colored car. I have a house at Worli, so I got a Harley Davidson sticker, called it Worli Davidson, and put that on the rickshaw. And you won't believe this, in Mumbai we have the Navy Nagar, where they have a beautiful hall, auditorium, and they have, every year they have something called Admiral Soman Memorial Lecture. And they call an outsider to give a talk. So they called me one year and said, Sunday morning, 10 o'clock. So please come on time because we have senior people, generals and admirals and vice admirals who attend this and their wives. So I said, I'm never late. I'll come at 9:30. So they said, no, you can't come at 9:30. We have a protocol. You wait someplace. We'll send our riders to welcome you. And while they're having tea and coffee, we'll herald you in. That's how we do the chief guest coming in. Which car are you coming in? I went there. They said, wait near Regal Theatre and we'll come in. Our riders will come and escort you. I went there in my rickshaw. And I phoned up that Commander Westin, I remember. And I said, Commander, I'm here. He said, sir, which car are you in? I said, no, I'm in a rickshaw. He said, no, don't joke, sir. I said, no, I'm really in a rickshaw. I can see your riders. I went for that function with this rickshaw with 2 uniformed naval riders with those flags flying. And you wouldn't believe it, after I finished my talk, I had to spend an hour and a half there because every admiral, every general wanted a picture in this rickshaw. And they're defense people, they're not unruly. They all waited in a line. So a general would sit in the front, his wife would sit at the back. Then the wife would sit in the front, the general would sit at the back. So I said if I had a Rolls-Royce, they wouldn't have bothered so much. But by doing something completely different, by unbelonging, I managed to get that kind of attention. So whatever you do in creativity, don't do what others are doing. Do something that nobody is doing. Think of something completely different.
We'll open the floor to questions for our 5 minutes of audience questions. Sir, can we do that?
Sure.
All right, so we've got the mics in the audience, the floating mics in the audience. Yeah, please raise your hand. We'll have a mic brought on over to you. We've got a mic. Yes, the mics. Please stand up and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hello, check one. Good morning, sir. This is Akshay. I'm from a company called Express Minds. We curate quiz shows for various companies. My question is, how important is a brand mascot or like a brand? You know, mascots were a fashion before, and now they have gone. And since you've worked with companies like Amul, and we know the Amul girl, so is it important to have like a brand?
Yeah.
Image that you can connect to, as you said, that's very important.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what happens. Why mascots are important, because as years pass by, your audience keeps on changing, your target group keeps on changing. Now, I remember there was a time when Lux Supreme had film stars as their mascot. They had whatever, Sri Devi or whoever. A time comes when she becomes not relevant anymore. You need a newer film star. So when you take a live model, that live model has an expiry period. A mascot has no expiry period. The Amul Butter girl remains as relevant as she was 50 years ago and she is now. So a mascot, 2 things happen. One is people forget written words. A visual, they don't forget. World over, if you see a McDonald's, the clown, the joker outside the McDonald's thing, that's a mascot. I used to handle advertising for Seat tires, and we had created a rhino as a mascot. So when you have a mascot, it lasts longer. It's easily recognizable and it has no language. So in a country like India, where there are so many different states with different languages, the mascot can go everywhere. A slogan has to be translated. The mascot doesn't have to be translated. Can we go back? No, back. Move back. Move back. Move back. Okay. Okay. So that makes me look nice. So let's come back to this. We'll come to the questions later. So this was the story of my rickshaw. Now, David Ogilvy, who is very well known, a legendary advertising guy, the agency Ogilvy is named after him. It's his agency when he started. He wrote a book called Confessions of an Advertising Man. And that book, he said, when you think of outdoor advertising, people aren't interested in looking at a hoarding unless there's something interesting on that hoarding. He said people are busy on their phones or their laptops or whatever. So unless there's something that draws their attention, what he called, in that book, he called it a visual scandal. He said, unless you can create a visual scandal on a hoarding, why would anybody be interested in looking at a hoarding? Because he's passing on in a car or a bike or whatever. Bike, he won't look at a hoarding because he's paying attention to the traffic. In a car, he is looking at a file or a laptop or a phone. So he gave an example in that book with photographs. He said, on one street in Paris, one day, this hoarding appeared. A girl in a two-piece bikini, and it said on 2nd September, the top goes off. And David Ogilvy writes that a lot of people who normally wouldn't even go on that road must have made a point to go on that road on 2nd of September to see what happens. And on 2nd of September, the top did go off. And the line said, on 4th September, the bottom goes off. And he said people may have taken leave to go there to find out what happened on 4th September. And on 4th September, the bottom had gone off, the girl had changed, and the line was, it was a campaign for an agency. It says, Avenir, we keep our promises. If you say we'll do something, we'll do it. And Ogilvy writes that in a spate of 6 days or 7 days, they created so much visual scandal and interest on those 3 hoardings without spending millions of dollars. They got everybody's attention. And that's how advertising has to work, whether it's hoardings or anything else. It has gone off again. Now, in every city, in every country, there's an office of British Council. And they have a thing that you come to us, we have part-time courses, we have full-time courses, and we teach you how to speak correct English or write correct English. Because if you don't do this, you'll look like a fool if you use wrong English. Now, advertising, good advertising does not need a lot of money. It needs a lot of creativity. What British Council did is they said, instead of spending money in creating some great campaigns, they got photographers to go and say, please shoot pictures of wrong English in usage. And we'll use that on our hoardings, we'll use that in our press ads. And they collected a lot of these kinds of photographs, real photographs shot at different places. I'll just show you 3 of them. The first one said, Hotel Pierre, please leave your values at the front desk. What they meant was valuables, but the guy didn't know English. And it said, improve your English, we have part-time and full-time courses, come to us. The next slide was in a park where only men were allowed, women weren't allowed. I think it must be in Afghanistan or something. But the chap who wrote the board didn't know English, so he wrote, warning, it is forbidden to enter a woman. What he meant was no entry for women. And it said, improve your English, we have part-time and full-time courses, come to us. The third one was for a restaurant where they said, we take pride that whatever we serve you has been completely tested by us. So don't worry, whatever you eat, drink here is very safe. But the chap who wrote that board didn't know English very well, so he says, Papa's Cafe, the manager has personally passed all the water served here. What they meant is he's inspected the water, so it's safe. And it said, come to us, come to British Council, we'll teach you good English. I think one country where they don't have British Council is Pakistan, because one of my counterparts in Pakistan sent me these things in Pakistan. The top one says, Mangopi River is inhabited by crocodiles. Swimming is prohibited. Survivors will be prosecuted. And that was, on that side was on a lift, which says, press up to go up, press down to go down. This is again at a lift which says, attention, before entering the lift, please make sure whether the lift is present or not. So I think Pakistan doesn't have a British Council. But this is how advertising has to work. Now, some years ago, Dr. Pasricha, who was the Commissioner of Police in charge of traffic, came to our agency and he said, we have a problem in Mumbai that a lot of people either spit or urinate on walls outside buildings. So a lot of building societies have put up God's pictures there so they won't do it. But we can't have the whole Mumbai, all the surroundings by God's pictures. So this is what we want to say. यहाँ थूकना, पेशाब करना या गंदगी करना मना है, दंड 5,000 रुपए या कैद by order. So we very politely told Dr. Pasricha, sir, it's fine, we can put this up on hoardings, but you know, every grown-up person, man or woman, has a child inside that. And when you tell a person, don't do it or we'll punish you, that's the first thing the child does. So here when you say, by order, we'll put you in jail or we'll fine you, the first reaction would be, how will you catch me? If I go and urinate someplace, how many policemen do you have to catch me urinating on a wall? So I said, make them feel embarrassed about doing this. Would you let us do that? And he said, yes, let's try an experiment on a few hoardings. So this is what we did. यह गधों की पेशाब करने की जगह है. And we said, let somebody go and urinate on that wall. Somebody will click a picture of that. He'll never do it again. So I think about 14 hoardings we put up this message, after which Dr. Pasricha got transferred, not because of this hoarding, for whatever departmental thing that he had. But advertising has to work like this. It's not what you want to say, whether it's a hoarding or a press ad. It's what will your consumer, what will appeal to that person? What will make him do the action that you want him to do? I'll give you an example. Suppose you see a hoarding like this. Please drive slowly. How many of us drive slowly? You say, come on, yeah, there's no cop waiting anyway. There's nobody passing from here, so let's drive fast. But suppose you did not on that hoarding say, please drive slowly, but put up this message. Attention, beyond this point you may encounter nude bathers. Then you will say, wait, let's not be in a hurry. लिखा है तो कोई आता होगा ना, nude bathers आते ही होंगे. So there won't be a problem of speed driving. There will be a problem of traffic jam. Because everybody will wait for the nude bathers to cross. So if you want people to drive slowly, don't say drive slowly. Say something that would make them drive slowly, that will force them to do that. This is a hoarding, since we are discussing about outdoor advertising. In London, they put up an actual car on a hoarding for Arel Diet, and it said it also sticks to handles to teapots. So this is what you can do creatively. Just saying this, that Arel Diet can fix anything in the house, they put an actual car on the hoarding. And to say that if it can stick a car on a hoarding, imagine what it can do to your teapot handles. Now, there's a town called Spokane in America. They put up a hoarding saying, there are no termites in Spokane. Same message. They did not change the message, except they made sure that the hoarding was being eaten up as time went. The message remained the same. This is what I call creative use of outdoor advertising. The message was there are no termites in Spokane, but they were giving you examples, a proof of how termites are eating up the hoarding. And the hoarding slowly disappeared over a month, as if it was eaten by termites. And that's how creativity works. Here was a thing by The Economist, which was a bulb on a hoarding, and when a man passed under it, when he came under that bulb, it lit. That means if you read The Economist, chances are your brain will get a new idea. Now, this is creative use of a hoarding. If you're talking outdoor, it's not just changing a LED picture on the hoarding. Can you do something that's different from what everybody else is doing? This was an ad that appeared on a hoarding in London, which says, welcome back to butter. Butter has no more calories than margarine. No, I don't agree with this hoarding, because I feel that if I have to show a bikini-clad woman in a hoarding to get attention, I shouldn't be in advertising. If you're going to show a half-naked woman to get attention, then I don't need to be in advertising and be creative. Your local panwala can say Sharma Pan Bhandar and put a bikini-clad picture, and people will have a look at it. So I come back to something closer to home. I'm not saying that because I support women's causes or something. I don't do that. In fact, I feel that in a place like Mumbai, all you girls, women have it far better than all of us guys. I'll give you an example. Suppose on a Sunday morning, the electricity in my building goes off. No lights, no fan, no AC. So I go to my terrace, take off my clothes, and I'm lying, not troubling anybody, just lying on my own terrace without clothes. In the next building, if a girl goes to her terrace, I don't know why women go to terraces in the afternoon, but if she goes there and she sees me lying without clothes, she can phone up the police and have me arrested for indecent exposure. And my life is over. People say, you know what he was doing on a Sunday morning? Without clothes, he was lying on his terrace. Now, the following Sunday, if in that girl's building lights go off, and she goes to the terrace, takes off her clothes, and she's lying there, and if I go to my terrace and look at her, again, she can phone up and have me arrested for being a peeping Tom. So either way, men don't win. So when I say I don't agree with that kind of a holding, it's not because I believe in women's causes. I had this great fortune working with a great brand called Amul. And whenever I talk of Amul, I always say that whatever Amul was, is, and will be in future, the credit does not go to guys who write those hoardings. It didn't go to me. It goes to a man called Dr. Kurien. He was a guy, the world's only client, and all of you must learn this as a lesson. He said, I understand milk and milk products. I understand nothing in advertising. Don't show me what you do. I handled that for some 16 years. I never had to show him one hoarding that I did. He said, don't show it to me. Go ahead and do what you want to do. Make sure that we don't get into trouble. So like if I was sitting here now, and if there was a cricket match going on, and that time this Sunil Gavaskar scored a century, I would think of a line, phone up my office, tell them, make a hoarding like this, tell the hoarding guy to put up that time there was no flex and LEDs, so we'd put up a scaffolding and paint it. So we started painting the hoarding in the night. So by the time tomorrow's paper had a news item that Gavaskar scored a century, there was a joke on that hoarding with Amul butter. That was only possible because we didn't have to meet a client. He had complete faith in us. So whichever people you take, agencies you take or marketing people, if you go to them, don't treat them as suppliers. You've gone to them because you feel they're good. Give them the choice to do what they want to do. I'll just show you a few examples of what we did with Amul. There was a time when Anup Jalota was very popular with ghazals. So we said, Amul Parotha, the Bhojan King. Then we used to do a Ganpati hoarding during every Ganeshotsav. Now, I don't have the hoarding that I'm talking about. No, sorry, this was a thing which was, the government announced a 5-day week for all the government employees. So we did a hoarding which said, what do government employees still do 7 days a week? Eat Amul. Now this hoarding went up and I met a very senior manager of a multinational company who came and said, you know, Bharat, the new hoarding is very nice, but not many people have got the real meaning in this. Huh? And I said, yeah, what's the real meaning? He said, you've written the words, eat Amul under the table. Government employees eat everything under the table. Now, that was not in our mind, frankly, very honestly. I think the artist must have found that space, so he put it there, but he saw a different meaning in it. So at that time, I couldn't tell him that's not in it. I said, my God, very clever. Not many people have got the real meaning, but now I can tell you that that was not our intention. But people saw a nicer meaning in this. So Amul, Ganpati hoardings we used to do. We had done one hoarding, which was previous to this year, which line was Ganpati Bappa more ghya. And that hoarding had Ganpati with all the other things and the slice of bread in his hand. And the girl had a slice of butter on her plate. And the line was Ganpati Bappa more ghya, take more. This hoarding went up, and that hoarding went up, and I got a 18-page letter from a lawyer in Mumbai. He said, I am a regular consumer of Amul butter. I just saw your hoarding, and you have done something that a Hindu can't do. We can't show our gods holding bread in his hand, because in his letter he said, in the olden days, Christian missionaries would throw a slice of bread in a well, and if you drank water from that well, you turned into a Christian. I don't know where he got that from. So he said, but because you've shown a Hindu god holding bread, I write to inform you that I have stopped eating Amul butter from today. And then he added a proviso. He said, but if you give me a personal assurance that you'll never repeat this hoarding again, I may reconsider my decision. Now, if he never repeated hoarding, I said, why tell him that? So I wrote him a small letter saying, I'm very hurt that you've stopped eating Amul butter, but Amul, Ganpati is a fun god. See, even our gods, Ram is a frozen figure. There's Ram, Lakshman, Sita, and Hanuman. Krishna is Radha and Krishna. But Ganpati is a cricketer, he's a musician, he does all kinds of things. He dances, he sings. But I said, if it has hurt your feelings, I give you my personal assurance I'll never ever repeat this hoarding again. I sent that letter to him. I got a 30-page letter from him. I think lawyers can't write briefly. I mean, he could have just said, I agree or I disagree. He didn't do that. He sent a long letter saying, I refer to my earlier letter dated so-and-so, where I had mentioned all these things. I refer to your letter dated so-and-so, where you've given me a personal assurance. Based on your personal assurance, I am happy to inform you that I have started eating Amul butter again. So this year, I said, let's not take chances. So I put up this hoarding. Ganpati had in his hand what he's supposed to have. Girl had nothing on a plate. And the line was, Ganpati Bappa more dya, give me more. I said, no, this hoarding can't get us into trouble, so we put this up. The Amul Mumbai office got a call from somebody who said, I am the Shiva Sena Shaka Pramukh from Chowpatty. If you don't remove this hoarding in the next 48 hours, we'll burn it down. So they called me up and said, so there's a problem. A Shiv Sena guy has called up and they'll burn it down. I said, don't worry about this. Let's try and talk to somebody senior. So I didn't know anybody in Shiv Sena that time. I know everybody now. So I got a list of all the Shiv Sena senior leaders. Manohar Joshi that time, Chhagan Bhujbal, all kinds of people. All of them were out of town. So in desperation, I phoned up Bal Thackeray. And I said, sir, I want to come and see you and can you give me an appointment? And he said, come tomorrow morning to Shiv Sena Bhavan. So I went there with a print of this hoarding. And I said, my name is Bharat Dabholkar, I do this. He said, oh, you write these hoardings? Is that a bell for me to stop? Okay, in 2 minutes. But I wasted some time because that thing wasn't starting. So he said, oh, you write this? I didn't know Maharashtrian was writing it. I'm very proud of you. And he said, I'm a cartoonist myself. I don't think anybody from Shiv Sena will object to a thing like this. But if you're scared of this, I'll tell the Shaka Pramukh to give protection to this hoarding. So I came back to the office. I said, I spoke to Bal Thackeray and he said he'll give protection to the hoarding. They said, but the Shaka Pramukh has called us up. I said, look, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's keep the hoarding and let's hope somebody burns it down. In the next 15 minutes, people like Rajdeep Sardesai, Arnab Goswami, Barkha Dutt, whoever were that time, they'll all rush there. They'll take pictures of this. There'll be videos of this. There'll be debates on this. And I said, we don't have the kinds of budget to get this kind of publicity. So we kept this not for 10 days, but for 20 days. But nothing happened to it. So finally, we had to take it off. But from that time onwards, till I handled Amul, I never did a hoarding on anything that is religious. Because I think we are getting oversensitive about these subjects. Whether it's religious and things, don't get into it. I'll just rush through the thing. When Maradona won the Football World Cup, we had done Maradona to aisa hona, butter hona to Amul hona. Then when Sunil Gavaskar beat Bradman's record, we said, dawn of a sunny era. And that every match he kept on breaking some records. So we put a banner saying, easy Sunil, we can't change design so fast. Then Zahir Abbas scored a century in every match that he played in a test match series. So we said Zahir Abbas and have some utterly Amul. So we kept on doing these kinds of things. Then there was a match, one-day match when Miyadad hit a sixer on Chetan Sharma's last ball. So we said Miya ki daat se Sharma gaye. When Raj Kapoor died, this is the hoarding we did. We said, let's not have a joke on this. Raj Kapoor was known as the Joker. So we said a Joker is somebody who, even if he's crying and sad, he has a fixed smile on his face. So the greatest tribute to him would be a joke with a fixed smile and the Raj Kapoor pose with tears in his eyes. And I think that hoarding went up and we won an award in every category we entered this in. And this is how creativity works. Thank you very much.
Sir, you have been fabulous. We all want to kind of pause and I want to know, did you drive here in your rickshaw today?
Yeah, but you didn't keep the time, so that's why my time was short.
I'm incredibly sorry, sir. Please join us center stage. Can we please have Nimisha Shah join us on stage? We have a memento for you, sir. Everybody, please put your hands together. Mr. Bharat Dabholkar. So much to take away, so much. Thank you, thank you. Sky Blue Media presents OAC 2025. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be putting a very special QR code on screen.